What is going on, Jeromes? Happy Friday. As always, we put out our Friday Jerome Q&A session. So let's fire up the questions and let's get it rolling. So first up, from Tom, Shuttleboom Fitness. More disappointing, the Vikings' performance against San Fran in the playoffs or your performance on Live at the Bike. Now, if you came along, if you're a poker fan, so Live at the Bike is this live telecast live stream show from the Bicycle Hotel and Casino in beautiful Los Angeles, California. So they had the 2040 half kill limit game on there, and I'm from Minnesota, so I'm a limit hold'em monkey, right? And I just got on the show, and for 4 hours, I won 2 pots. I'm pretty sure. I unfortunately got cold decked a couple times as well. And here's the thing: like limit hold'em is different than no limit hold'em. In that limit hold'em, you need to be able to show down a hand, especially the way that game was playing. So when you don't get hands, it was really unfortunate. Of course, won the rest of the trip, but the entire time I was just getting texts from folks back home. I was like, "Play a hand, you nit," as I just fold the 9-3 offsuit napkins yet again. So I'm gonna say the Vikings because they actually had some control over the outcome. I mean, if you just ran a simulation 1,000 times, someone sitting in my seat, similar results. Jax J Domain, what's your most and least favorite part about being a Vikings fan? Well, my most favorite part is the fans, and it may just be that I'm a little bit biased because obviously the Jeromes are a bit of a self-selecting community as they're tuning in, and they enjoy the vibe. They enjoy me to a degree, so maybe I'm just rose-colored glasses there. But I would say the fans is the best part, but just because we've been knocked on the canvas so many times, yet we still get up and we're like, this is going to be our round, just answering the bell every single time, and then we just get kicked in the dick, although that's illegal. But least favorite part about being a Vikings fan, probably just the constant disappointment, where we've talked about where it's different than being a Vikings fan than being like a Browns fan or a Lions fan, because Browns, minus the recent last season, they just have no hope. And minus like the Sipe, the cardiac kids of the 80s, 70s or 80s, it doesn't matter. Just their team left and then they came back and they were terrible. It's different in that the Vikings fans, the team gets your hopes up, like this is gonna be the year, and then not so much. Next up, Moss for Life. Moss for Life is a monthly Jerome. Find out how you can be a monthly Jerome and help support the channel. Click that white join box down below and hit that up. All right, love seeing the family crash some videos. What is your favorite part about being a dad? So if you saw the Stephen Weatherly video this week, our daughter was just like here and just like all over the place. I would say the best part about being a dad is that you get to experience things through their eyes that you may have forgotten, because like for many years, like before we had kids, like I hated the state fair. Like of course loved the state fair as a kid. I loved going around and getting all the candy and whatnot. Also the flea market, so just get like the entire stack of Twins baseball cards from that year. I mean, it was a lot of fun, right? But then I got jaded by it. It was like, it's too crowded, it's boring, everything's expensive, all that stuff. But then when you have kids, they're all in. I mean, the daughter has so much fun at State Fair. I'm sure the boy will too. So it's something I look forward to, just because I love seeing how much fun that they have at that, or just like mundane things like going for ice cream or going to the movies, and just moments like that where the kids just have so much fun, and you could tell like it's gonna be something that they remember as like good memories, and just being able to give your kid good memories, good experiences, it's one of the most rewarding things. And also make sure they stay out of prison. Like no OJs around here. I'm trying that. Kyle Rippentrop, what do you think about Josh Donaldson signing for the Twins? Top 5 Minnesota sports moments. So I'm a super casual baseball fan. I saw that this. Yeah. Can I join this video too? Of course. Come on down. Speaking of cameos.
Cameos like camos. All
right, say hi.
Hi.
What do you think about Josh Donaldson signing with the Twins? Oh, no clicks. No clicky, though. So what do you think?
It's Llama Day today, but it's 100,000.
It's Llama Day today. There you go. I would say top 5 Minnesota moments. Twins winning the World Series. Well, I guess individual moments, it would have to be Kirby's Game 6 home run, the catch against the wall. These are in no particular order. The Minneapolis Miracle for sure. I guess, like really big Gophers moments. Because you'd have to go back to like the 40s. Yeah, waving. I guess when the Lynx won championships, when Kevin Garnett and Randy Moss came back, those are pretty big. I don't know. We're kind of devoid of really big moments. Next up is Andy Chavez. Who will make the more interesting future 30 for 30?
What about if he shovels into a big black hole, then he shoveled the other side of it, and he fell in it.
He shoveled into the hole, and then he fell?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. All right, more interesting 30 for 30, Antonio Brown or Kellen Winslow Jr.? Well, I think Antonio Brown gets more publicity, obviously, but also the Kellen Winslow Jr. story is just so random and sad, especially you have a guy who's got the pedigree, like his father, Kellen Winslow Sr., Hall of Famer, all that stuff. He's at the U, and then he goes to the Browns and whatnot.
What if he actually dug a hole in the road, and he actually dug another one next to it,
Mm-hmm.
and then he walked into the hole?
No way.
That's it. It was the Chuck Total one.
That'd be so silly. But like Kellen Winslow, before his current trials, where he's basically serving life in prison, right? Like he just barely avoided the death penalty or something like that. But like the story of him, having some alone time in a Boston Market parking lot. I mean, just how random is that? Random and hilarious. But yeah, probably Kellen Winslow. I would say if they did Kellen Winslow in the style of the Aaron Hernandez documentary, which I highly recommend, I think that would be fascinating. Antonio Brown could just be a regular 30 for 30. Wild Rice Rust. Where in the Twin Cities would you take an out-of-town guest? Well, if you're going to be eating casual, I'd say Revival, Twin Cities. Go to St. Paul. Like Minneapolis one is fine, but going to the OG St. Paul is great. Bellacore. Want to go all the way out there? Gavin Kasem's legit.
Daddy?
Yeah.
If you want letters, I can put them for you.
Okay. No, we don't need any letters right now, but this is kind of my go-to. Just take them to Nicolay Mall and just like ride the train or get an Uber over there. There's tons of bars. The local is great. The Barrio, the newsroom is down there. The Irish pub. Name escapes me, but you'll find lots to do there. Shaq Edwards, Handy, would like to hear your thoughts about the Vikings actually trying to trade back or trade up a late first or early second round pick to land Jordan Love because mobile quarterback hides O-line weaknesses a la Seahawks. The more I research and more I watch about Jordan Love, the more intrigued about him I am. Now, I liked him going into this year. Didn't really pan out his final year at Utah State because, I mean, just the cast of characters around him. But you can't deny his size, athleticism. I think he's got a great arm as well. And he would be an intriguing prospect. Now, I know Daniel Jeremiah had him mocked middle of the first round. I don't think he necessarily goes that high unless he just completely blows up the combine, which he certainly could. But, I mean, if the Vikings are standing pat at 25, Love is there. Or, he starts falling through the late teens. Or, the Vikings take someone else at 25. Jordan Love is still on the board, doing the old Spielman shuffle, moving back up, getting that second first-round pick. I wouldn't be opposed to it. Dennis Wardell, with as many fan favorite and good Vikings players we have lost or going to lose, how do you view the Kirk Cousins contract now? Well, who the Vikings really lost? You look back, so they've kept Thielen, they've kept Barr, they've kept Kendricks. They let Sheldon Richardson go, which, was a one-year rental. It's fine. But also, you look at players who could be gone this year. I mean, Linval could be out the door. Same thing with Everson. Maybe they can't pay Anthony Harris. Maybe Mack is gone. Xavier, Trey Waynes. Maybe that's more on their own merit. And I think it is more of the sticker shock remaining from the Cousins contract, the fact that it was historical and that it was fully guaranteed. I think it's more about giving a quarterback like Kirk Cousins that type of money as opposed to just completely hamstringing the team financially. Because as we know, hashtag #KevSmith. Hey, say hashtag #KevSmith.
Hashtag Cousin Love.
Close enough. All right, next up, Johnny Boy 407. What is your ultimate Vikings team? Any player from any era? Also, keep up the great work. Any hashtag Cap is a myth. Yeah, also, we should start like being a guerrilla warfare. Just like put the Cap is a myth on everything. Guerrilla.
Gorilla.
So all-time team. Just back the envelope stuff. I like Joe Cap over Frank Tarkenton. I just really do. So I would take Joe Cap. I would take Adrian. I would take Boom Boom Bill Brown as fullback. I would take Randy Moss, Chris Carter, Anthony Carter for shiz. Probably put Ahmad Rashad as your wide receiver 4. Come on, playa. Tight end, Steve Jordan. Offensive lineman mix and match. You got Hutchinson, you got Ron Yeri, you got Gary Zimmerman, you got Mick Tinglehoff, you got Randall McDaniel, of course. I'm sure I'm missing a couple. Defensive side, I mean, Alan Page, Carl Eller, Jim Marshall, Jared Allen. John Randall's your rotational defensive tackle. Get out of here. Shoot. Let's see, linebackers. Jeff Simeon, Scott Studwell, E.J. Henderson was a stud from back in the day. Greenway when he was at his peak for sure. I think Kendricks could eventually work his way onto that Mount Rushmore. Cornerbacks, I guess he put peak Xavier up there. Put Carl Lee, put Antoine Winfield, obviously. Safeties, Joey Browner, Harrison Smith, Paul Krause. It's not a bad group. Oh, kicker, Jan Standerud or Fred Cox, and punter. Was Greg Coleman that good of a punter? I don't even remember. Back in the day. Or I don't know, Mitch Berger and his Snickers in his shoe. Yeah. Next up, Gobble Gimmick. Your thoughts on DiFilippo being released as Jags OC? LOL. What are you looking for? What are you looking forward to next season? All right, so let's address these. Let's address these one by one. DiFilippo being released as Jags OC. I think DiFilippo got a little bit overhyped from his year as the Eagles quarterbacks coach / red zone coordinator. Hasn't quite worked out. No workout with the Vikings. Didn't work out with Jacksonville. It's all good. Looking forward to next season. The continuation of the offense. Gary Kubiak being named offensive coordinator. I think it'll be good for this group to have the same offense for 2 years in a row. It'd be kind of nice. Which position do we draft in the first round of the draft? I say I'd say BPA, offensive lineman, D tackle, cornerback. I think that's what'll be going on. How would you feel? How would the past 2 seasons have gone with Case as QB1? Well, I think that the ills of the offensive line would have been covered up more significantly just because of the pocket awareness of a Case Keenum. But also, the high highs that Kirk Cousins has, I don't think that Case Keenum has that in his repertoire. I mean, Case is a lot of fun. I think that 2017 will always be a magical season, but I actually don't think that the Vikings would have progressed any farther with Case Keenum last 2 years than with Kirk Cousins. Next up, MJ23. Do you think Minnesota should go after a young coach or hire someone on staff to take over for Zim if he fails to reach the Super Bowl? Thanks. Well, is Gary Kubiak young? Because that's the writing on the wall, isn't it? And Zimmer essentially hired his replacement last year, where if things go wonky, like the Vikings start out 2-5, you could easily see Mike Zimmer being fired, Gary Kubiak being named interim, and then eventually holding down the fort, and then him and the Kubiak contingent with Clint and Dennison and Periani just run things. Joe Harris, monthly Jeromes subscriber, was bringing Anthony Barr back the right decision? Yeah, I think it was. Even though he's got the weighty contract, the fact that he is the captain of this defense and he does a lot of great things for Zimmer specifically, and I think it was the right decision to bring him back because I was really bummed when he initially signed with the Jets, or it looks like that he was moving out of town because the Vikings didn't really have anyone on staff to replace him. One for one, not Gideon. Eric Wilson isn't that type of linebacker, and they probably would have had to reach for what are the name of the 2 linebackers in the draft? Both went first round. Oh, was it the 2 Devons? Devin Bush and Devin what's the face? Doesn't matter. Blake Kettler. What's your favorite kind of pizza? Also, do you think there's a possibility that we get Winfield Jr. / that and Thaddeus Moss? Favorite kind of pizza? I'm pretty simple. I just like meat and, well, I guess it'd be deluxe or supreme. So pepperoni, sausage, onions, green peppers, black or green olives. Don't really care. Just like all in. Let's hear. Possibility of Winfield Jr. and Thaddeus Moss. Well, I actually think that Moss could be a day 3 pick. I think he could fall that far. And Winfield Jr. I think would be a solid day 2 selection. And just taking away bloodlines and nepotism, I think they're just 2 really great players and could contribute a lot to the Vikings, especially Winfield Jr. The fact that he could play slot corner as well as safety. Eric Normal, do you think Javon Kinlaw or Trevon Diggs would be solid picks 25? Yeah. I think both of them would be phenomenal. Dan Jeremiah actually mocked Kinlaw to the Vikings at 25. I think that his raw physical tools, and if he can stay, keep his weight under control, I think he could be just an absolute missile beast, just like disruptive force in the middle that the Vikings didn't have this year. And of course, Trevon Diggs, besides the the nepotism, bloodline storylines of he's just a good cornerback. And if he's there at 25, I think that would be a solid pickup. Eric Anderson. The Vikings move on from Rick Spielman after 2020. Who do you see as the next GM, assuming GP already gone in Cleveland? It does look like George Payton is going to be gone, and we're recording this like midday on Thursday, so George Payton may be officially announced in Cleveland, but I actually think that this one is for real. But yeah, if Spielman is fired after the next season, I think it's going to be a complete outside hire, complete rebuild and teardown of the front office. And frankly, I've always been a big fan of Thomas Dimitroff in Atlanta, where him and Dan Quinn were given one more year by Arthur Blank. I think they could be parting ways after next season. So if the Vikings do decide to part ways with Spielman, I would love to bring Dimitroff and Scott Pioli up here for the Vikings to run the front office. Matthew S., how do you think Robert Saleh would be as a Vikings head coach? Do you think Armand Watts could be the answer at defensive tackle? Well, I do think that if the Vikings fire Zimmer, they'll swing the other way. I think they'll go offense, where I really like Eric Bieniemy. And also, if they just like roll with Kubiak, I'll be fine with that too. But Robert Saleh, I think he's a young, very bright, very great defensive-minded coach. I mean, look what he did to the Vikings. Look what he did to the Packers. He's got a lot of great talent out there in San Francisco. It's sort of a shame that he didn't get the time of day as a head coach. Armand Watts could be, also I think Armand Watts getting the time of day. Armand Watts, Oli Udoh, and Drew Samia are 3 second-year players I'm looking forward to in 2020, where if they finally get a shot, they get another training camp under them, I think they could be real contributors for this team. Raheem Bush. And if you could interview any all-time Vikings legend, here or gone, who would it be for you? Joe Cap. Joe Cap, still around, shooting tequila, 96 years old. Let's go. Let's do that up. Next up, Oakview. Will the Vikings trade away Stephon Diggs because of his attitude for cornerback players or first-round picks? That's still simmering below the surface, where I know that everyone kissed him made up, because Diggs was getting the ball towards the end of the season, which is great, and he's unquestionable talent for sure. But something still sticks with me. Like, there's $200,000 in fines. Like, those don't just come out of nowhere. Those don't just come from missing one meeting or missing one practice. So it's going to be something to monitor. And the fact that he isn't as boisterous as some of the other diva wide receivers doesn't mean that those tendencies aren't going on behind the scenes. So I'm frankly a little bit worried. Next up is Crandra Smith basketball. Favorite restaurant in the Minneapolis area? Hey, baby. Favorite restaurant in the Minneapolis area. Also, what do you think about the left tackle position this offseason? Well, my love for Revival has been very widely known. Blue Door Pub is phenomenal. Manny Steakhouse is legit the pinnacle, as well as Fotao Bay. It's a pho place in South Minneapolis. Go there. It's right off of Nicolay. And then also Hoban in Egan is a very legit Korean place. So do that up. Think about the left tackle this offseason. I think they'll cut Riley Reef. I think they'll draft his replacement. All in. Minnesota Vikings, man 28. Which Vikings player is most likely to win Pro Bowl MVP? It's got to be Cousins or Xavier Rhodes, just because that's how stupid things are. Kellen Smith. Who do you want the most in the draft that is reasonable? Well, here's the thing. I never really get romantically attached to certain players. I get attached to relative value in terms of what's left on the board. So, positions in need, positions in need, like left tackle, cornerback, defensive tackle. Like, come draft time, I'll have like a strata of like 5 to 7 names at each position that I really like in terms of relative value if they're there on the board. So I don't really get tied to it's got to be this guy, it's got to be that guy. Last guy I had that was Teddy. What's up?
What about if he got something stinky and gross and icky?
Just said something about stinking, gross, and icky. I don't know. That would be kind of crazy.
Like the stink bug.
Like the stink bugs. Next up is Levi Crack. I'm sure it's been asked before, but I'm from Des Moines and intend to move to Minneapolis after I graduate college. Did you used to live in the Twin Cities or now do or currently kicking it in the Twins? So do I live here? Yeah, I live here. Powerful South Metro. It's a wonderful place. And also, so been going to LA pretty much like once a month and just comparing the housing prices.
Place has a stinky aquarium. Like the stink bugs again.
Comparing the housing prices, cost of living, as well as the quality of the school districts. Because the nicest house in Wayzata, just think about that. The most expensive house in Wayzata would be like a two bedroom, 1.5 bath in Long Beach. Like that's exactly what it is. And that's a slight exaggeration, but not a very big one. Yeah, it's just insane. Yeah, go Zillow some places in LA. Like, if you want to live in LA, you basically have to be in the Valley or the Inland Empire. So, Zach, go skiing or snowmobiling? Neither. Here's the thing about skiing. There's only 2 outcomes, and they're both whatever. 1, you're cold. 2, you die. Those are the only 2 outcomes in skiing.
What about he actually died really, really well, and he actually splashed in a puddle?
No way. Next up is Cal Alexander. What are your thoughts on Courtney Crone trashing #Habs and Myth crowd like us? Is that the reasoning for your turn score? No, Joe. All right, so here's the thing. I love Courtney Crone. She's awesome. We're friends, and the whole thing of it is like whether I don't know, just like ripping on some jabroni YouTube channel where it's one guy and his camera in his basement. Yeah, you have a multi-million-dollar media machine just like punching up at some dude in his basement, and it's all because of you, Jeromes. It's amazing. The market is the market. I mean, technology has democratized content, and the best rises to the top no matter how many hot takes you have. A Noodle 130. Who is a monthly Jerome? Shout out. Who do you think is staying, going, and coming into Minnesota this offseason? I think Rhodes is gone. I think Riley Reef is gone. I think Trey Waynes is gone. I think Darius Slay is coming to Minnesota. I think they are going to make some moves on the offensive line, whether it's Brandon Scherf or Joe Thuney. Then that's about it. Ty Smith. Oh, also we're getting Marcus Mariota. Ty Smith, if and when we make the playoffs and lose the NFC Championship game next year, is it fair to say Zim and Spielman are gone? I think anything short of an NFC Championship game appearance, I think that is fair game. I think that even if they slap a Band-Aid year on Spielman and or Zimmer, I think everyone knows that 2020 is all in or nothing for the Vikings because it lined up with Kirk Cousins. Like Zimmer and Spielman, they tied their futures to Kirk Cousins, and they're going to go as far as he can take them. Jake Hack, Thuney or Scherf? Thuney's been healthier and plays left guard. I'm worried that Scherf about him or Klein moving to left side, and they're both often injured. Yeah, I think that raises a good point. I think Thuney is solid, but also I wonder if it's more of the system in New England. I think if it's offensive line coach Dante Scarnecchia, if that's what's going on with Thuney, and can he succeed on his own? I mean, look at what happened to Nate Solder. He was the highest paid left tackle in NFL history, and he's garbage.
He splashed in a puddle again, and he died again really, really well. And he actually got a boo-boo, and then he died very, very well.
Yeah. All right, next up.
Is that the treat mice again?
It is. Mario Carmona, thoughts on Skull North comments. Now, I never tune into other media, and frankly, I mean, we do this to have fun, so we're not going to start some East Coast West Coast media beef. Like I only posted that meme because a listener sent it to me, and I thought it was really funny. But yeah, we'll shy away from controversy there. Nate Watson, where some potential trade ups we could do in the draft? All in for Andrew Thomas, or if Tua falls. That's really about it. Or if the Ohio State cornerback somehow falls to the back of the top 10, which he's not gonna, I would certainly give some thoughts to that. Next up, Dennis Wardell. How do you grade our GM after not being able to hit on key positions or just not drafting good players in those positions like quarterback and offensive line? Do you see it as a conflict with Zimmer wanting his guys? Well, I think that Spielman is handicapped to a degree where a lot of draft capital and also a lot of salary cap has to be dedicated to the defense, and sometimes you just miss on free agents on the offensive line. Kirk Cousins, TBD. His contract, as well as Riley Reif, meh. Mike Remmers, no. Alex Boone, no. Josh Klein, aight. Except he was the smallest free agent contract. Next up, Dev the Gamer. Should the Vikings trade up for Justin Fields? What are your thoughts on him as a potential franchise quarterback for the Vikings in the future if we can get him? Sort of meh on Fields. I'm warming up to Jalen Hurts the more that I learn about the kid. I mean, he just wins, although I do have some questions about his accuracy at the NFL level. But, I mean, Hurts, Bryce Love, fully intrigued by. I'm not in on Eason. I'm not in on Fromm. Sort of meh on Fields. I'd be in on Tua. I'm not really that concerned about the hip. Also, Joe Burrows falls to 2. All in. Drew Smith, are you a fan of the English Premier League at all? I was told that Tottenham is like the Vikings, except Tottenham won. That's all. Brandon Swenson. What's your opinion on Jason Verrett coming to the Vikings on a 1-year prove-it deal? Often injured, not really the size that Zimmer likes in cornerbacks. I mean, the kid's supremely talented, except he just can't stay healthy, so I would have concerns. Anthony Cartagena, in your opinion, what position holds the best value? Top 5 corner, top 5 offensive lineman, or top 5 defensive lineman? Asking because of the draft coming up. I think you can scheme coverage. I think that you can generate a pass rush to a degree. So I think having a top 5 offensive lineman amongst those 3 would be the superior option. Next up, Mason Large. Should the Vikes try to do everything they can to move up in the draft and take a top 3 quarterback? If so, how do you think Kirk Cousins can mentally handle the Vikings drafting a soon-to-be replacement? I don't think they necessarily have to move to grab a quarterback. And yeah, there might be 4 quarterbacks off the board in front of them. Maybe they have to settle for a top 8 quarterback or whatever in the second round. I think that's fine. But Kirk, Kirk's experienced the bloodless coup before because he was the one taking over RG3's job. So I think he is a little wary about having a quality QB2. I think that's why he was comfortable with Trevor Siemian last year, comfortable with Sean Mannion this year, because they were in no shape or form a threat to take his job. But I think having a young buck up and coming, I think that could actually be a negative for him. And also, conspiracy theory, I think that's one of the reasons why Kyle Sluter was shown the door this offseason. Josh Imset, if you're Rick Spielman, do you draft a quarterback this year and send a message to ownership that you have a long-term plan in place beyond Kirk Cousins, thus pushing for an extension to carry out that plan? It may not even matter. I mean, depending on how the team performs next year, I think he may be gone either way. Alex Von Weil, what about Rich Scar as offense coordinator? Do you think that would be a good look at Zimmer and Alex? Well, it's Kubiak, so there you go. Zach Hazlius, you have the best Vikings coverage on YouTube. It's not close. My question is, should we extend Cook? RB is one of not the most expendable positions. It's easy to find replacements, but our offense runs through him. We did a video on this earlier in the week. I think it's smart on both parties' sides because I don't think the Vikings will be offering much in terms of a long-term extension to Dalvin right now anyway. So it would be smart for Dalvin to bet on himself in 2020. It would be smart on the Vikings to see if he can stay healthy and also play at a high level. And then cross that bridge next year when he's a free agent when you get to it. T-Rag, help all of us Dalvin non-believers. Why should we want to sign him again when he's been hurt every year, barring this one? Also, what do you think about Nick Eason, Washington quarterback, as 3rd or 4th round pick? Well, again, Dalvin's under contract for another year. Let's see him run it back, see if he can stay healthy all next year. Nick Eason, yeah.
Nick Eason, to send a polar bear from the hut. So,
Yeah, I prefer a polar bear, Nick Eason. She has a point. Next up, Andy Sean. What's your opinion about Score North? Indifferent. Torrey Hansen. If Cousins is not back after this upcoming season, who do you think the Vikings starting quarterback will be? I think the starting quarterback next in 2021 for the Vikings will be a second round, a second year player that was drafted this year and made the Vikings QB too. So it could be a first round pick, could be a second round pick, could be a third round pick, could be whatever. But I think that'll be the future. TJ all day. Is Dr. Pepper the best pop? I would say no. For me, kind of indifferent about pop. But for me, when you're hungover, like there really is nothing better than just like ice cold 7-Up or a Sprite or a Sierra Mist. In that lemon lime clear pop sort of category. Next up is Prime Rib. Who are the high buck players on this team that do not earn their pay compared to similar players on other teams? Xavier Rhodes. Kirk Cousins at times, Riley Reif most of the time, and Anthony Barr sometimes. That's about it. Next up is RN. Wildest, funniest Andy Carlson drinking story. Here. I want to be relatively tepid on this one, but Uncle Nick, as you may know, is a fan of the program, a.k.a. the mascot, a.k.a. the sidekick. So in college one night, So they used to sell Jägermeister in a giant bottle that also had a pump handle, which is kind of cool because once we emptied one, we turned that into a soap dispenser. But anyways, Nick got destroyed off of Jaeger, and he was like, Nick has dark hair, and he's like, bleach my hair, because that was still like the tail end.
Why did Nicky have dark hair? He has light hair.
Well, he had light hair after he got really drunk and then let people bleach his hair.
Then he got dark hair like me.
Yeah. So that was about. So he woke up looking like Slim Shady. Happens. There's a lot better ones that I would share off camera and also not in front of my kid, but because also here's the thing. She's a bit of a snitch. Hey Margaret. What? Why are you snitching?
I don't know.
Yeah, because all right. So I'll let her have a cookie in the afternoon, even though her mom says no cookies. And then I'll be like, all right, hey, just don't tell mom that I let you have a cookie. First thing that happens when she walks in the door, oh, cookies. Cookies were had. We had so many cookies. It was Cookie Fest here. Shoot. Get out of here. Next up. HCGA Alpha Wolf. If Kirk gets fired next season, who do you think will be the quarterback? Personally, I think Cam Newton if he's available and healthy. Thoughts? I'm worried about Cam Newton because I think that body's breaking down. Also, didn't help that he went vegan, but that's a video for another day. I would not be in the business for another retread. Give me a rookie or give me a Marcus Mariota. Sure. Next up, Spencer Vox. Spencer Vox is a monthly Jerome. Where's the off button? Okay. This is going to stay right here for a sec. All right, next up, Spencer Fox. Do we resign Dan Bailey this offseason or moved options like Rodrigo Blankenship in the draft? Also, it's early in the draft process, so that could easily just be a made-up name. Rodrigo Blankenship of the Blankenships of Crete. I think Dan Bailey's earned another year, so sign him up. Let's go. Rev 68. Any chance a good Pro Bowl for Rhodes would raise his trade value for another team? I mean, maybe, but also no team is going to trade for that contract as well as, I mean, they have eyes. They have eyes. ST, do you think the Vikings will draft good? Yes. Pulford Skull. Is the reality the Vikings could sign Taysom Hill? No. Teddy? Probably not. Marcus Mariota? Maybe.
Upstairs for a little bit.
Okay. You want to take that with you? Out of the three, which would you have best sit behind Kirk this year and take over the reins 2021? Well, it won't be Hill. It won't be Teddy because I don't think Teddy would come back here to be a backup, especially since he's going to have starting quarterback options. Marcus Mariota, I guess by default, would be the choice. I think he'd be relatively cheap, and you could sell him on the fact that, hey, Kirk may not be here for a long time. You just a little bit of change of scenery could do you really good. Hyper J. How many do we have left? All right, a couple. Hyper J, do you think Marvin Lewis is in the cards for us to get as defense coordinator since Edwards is out as DC? Is Marvin Lewis still at Arizona State? I think Zimmer's just going to give the title to Adam Zimmer and or Andre Patterson. Just move on. Josh Imset, if you're in Rick Spielman's shoes, how would you go about fixing the offensive line and shoring up the defensive line this season? Free agency, I would spend big bucks, hashtag cap is a myth, on an offensive lineman, Joe Thuney or Brandon Scherf, as well as just be really aggressive in the draft for offensive line as well as 3 techs. And also make sure that you're giving the time of day to Drew Samia, Oli Udo, and Armon Watts. I mean, they're there for a reason, man. Next up, Sam Davies. Last Q&A, I asked if you have plans for Discord server, and you shrugged it off like you can't be bothered. If you still don't want to set up a Discord server, I'll have no trouble putting one up. ASAP deal. Yeah, do it. Yes, that went up. Big Mr. Popo. Big fan, Andy. Let me throw some facts or whatever you want to call it. As a Vikings fan, I remember the bad as much as the good. For example, 2009 we lost to the Steelers. Chester Taylor fumbled the game away. And in 2017 we lost to the Steelers week 2. And, I believe both games will win. Could end up with a 1 seed and 1 done. Why can't we win those type of games? And guess what? Both teams beat us. I don't know. Next up, Varane. Maybe a stupid question, but what is the penalty if we bench Cousins and start another quarterback in his place or trade release him? Exactly as a guarantee. That would actually be funny if they like straight up bench Cousins at a certain point. Where if I mean he showed well enough this year, in mid-season as well as the Saints game. Be like, all right, we're gonna run it back one more year. You're gonna be our guy. We'll see. But if the writing's on the wall, or say Zimmer gets fired mid-season, Kubiak takes over. Kubiak likes a backup like Mariota or a rookie quarterback that they drafted this year, and then they just bench Cousins with like 5 games to play, which I mean could easily happen, and it'd be kind of hilarious, and then we'll be in line for a top 5 pick. Let's go, and then we'll take a trade up for Trevor Lawrence. Boom. Let's see, do you go? Ethan Burt, trade Dalvin, Rudolph, cut Reef, Elfline, Rhodes, bring back Harris and Max, sign Thuney, draft a top 3 tackle with the picks from the trades. Also get Trevon Diggs in the first. Jalen Hurts. Well, hey, no one's trading for Dalvin. The running back position is what it is. No one's trading for Rudolph with that contract. I'm down with cutting Reef and Elfline, even though he's on his rookie deal, which is funny. And then Rhodes. For sure, signing Harris and Mack. For sure, down with signing Thuney. So I'm down with most of the parts of that plan, except for I think we value trade value because it has to take 2 to tango. And if you have an asset that you're wanting to be a seller on, as opposed to having the demand of a buyer out there, you can't be the one initiating because you're not going to get great value. Ben Ostley, should the Vikings draft Jake Fromm? No, I just don't believe in Fromm. But that's it. All right, so that is the Vikings Friday Q&A. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. If you want to support the channel, click that join box down below. It's a great day to do it. Find out how you can become a monthly or platinum Jerome player, as well as support the work. Pull us on the Venmo, plus give us a follow on social media as well. But till next time, Skull, production value.